Hello everybody, it is George Washington and Betsy Ross today for Famous People, Famous Events. And we are indeed both famous people, and this is about a famous event. Isn't that right, Betsy?
Exactly.
So we're having fun dressing up because, of course, this is Ms. Mickey from Costumes from All Occasions. Some people still remember you as Mickey's Menagerie.
Of course.
And so this is the woman that we've had more fun with over the past 20 years. She supplies us with costumes when we have a blast, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
But as much fun as we have dressing up, we are getting ready to celebrate our country's anniversary, Independence Day,
Yes.
this Saturday. And you have a very special relationship to me, to George,
Absolutely.
and to Betsy. So tell us about that.
Well, recently I've started doing genealogy,
Yeah,
and with the help of the library.
of course.
And I've discovered that George is our cousin. Now, of course.
How many times removed? Do you know that part?
No, I forget.
Yeah.
It's far back.
It's pretty far back.
Yes,
But still,
exactly.
you've traced the lineage through.
And he's a first cousin.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And no one can be his grandchild.
Right. Because
So
he
it's as
did
close
not
as
have
you
children.
can get is
Right.
being a first cousin, no matter how many times removed with this generation.
I wonder how many descendants he has. Does anybody have a rough idea?
Oh, I'm sure that there's some kind of an organization out there that
Yes.
Cousins of George.
That's
somewhere.
right. I like that. Cousins
Yeah.
of George.
Right.
But you're also related to Betsy Ross, aren't you?
By marriage.
By marriage.
By
Okay.
marriage. Her third husband
Okay. She was married
is
3
my
times.
great uncle.
She was married 3 times. Oh, well, they died.
Unfortunately,
They died a lot.
Betsy has Betsy herself has a past.
Mm-hmm.
She has a story.
Oh, can you share that
Well,
story?
she was born Elizabeth Grisham,
Mm-hmm.
and the Grishams were from the Friends Church. They were Quakers,
Okay.
and she married outside the faith.
Uh-oh, that's always trouble.
Mr.
So
Ross
we can find
was
some more stuff.
not in the faith,
Okay.
and he was from the Christ Church, which was associated with the English
Okay.
Anglican Church. And she went to church there at the Christ Church, and her parents disowned her.
Oh, I didn't. This is some good scoop. I'm a history
It
major,
is
and I didn't know
good.
this.
It is very good.
Yes.
Okay. And we know these things because we can read.
Yes, we
You
can.
like that?
I do like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is like, what is it? I read books, therefore I know things.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. So her husband went to the Christ Church there in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
as well as George Washington,
Okay.
during the times that he was visiting with the Continental Congress to do congressional work,
Right.
as being their general.
Mm-hmm.
And she and her husband were upholsterers. They
Oh.
could sew.
Okay. I
Okay.
didn't know that either.
They upholstered and they made things. And they
Nothing
had
as famous as this.
access
though.
to people who could afford were the rich British followers.
Oh. Okay.
And therefore, Mr. Ross was like one of the servants when he entered the house, and people could just carry on their conversation like nobody was there.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Ross also knew things, and he was friends with George Washington, so he was sort of a spy.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's wonderfully
He's also,
interesting.
he soldiered for George as well.
Well, you know, you only hear about Betsy. You never hear about her husband. So
I know.
that's
Isn't that something?
that is.
And unfortunately, Mr. Ross was killed
During the
soldiering
Okay.
for George.
Okay.
And she had a couple of children.
Mm-hmm.
George was very upset. He said, I'm going to have to help her out. She has no parents to go back to. She's trying to run the upholstery shop by herself without her husband to do the heavy work. So he had drawings in his pocket of his family crest, and he was designing a new flag for a new country.
Well, I see there are resemblance because we looked up the George Washington family crest.
The red and white stripes.
It's
and
beautiful.
The stars.
Yes.
Yes.
But so I can see how the adaptation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Try looking that up. It's a very interesting story. But he had the stars scattered on the field of blue.
Okay.
Kind of helter-skelter. And Betsy's suggestion was, what if we put the stars this way? And it looks like they're all holding hands. So all the colonies are united together.
Oh, that Betsy was clever, wasn't
she?
Yes, I love that story.
I know, I love this.
Yes.
So he hired her through the Continental Congress to make their flag.
So that helped
She
her
made
out
several flags.
financially.
And she wasn't the only flag maker, but she made this first one.
Okay. That is a really fascinating story.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I love this
So
story.
were you learning about this prior to your interest in genealogy?
I had no clue until I researched genealogy and found her.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and it was just a fluke that I did, was researching my Claypool. Evidently I'm related to Claypools.
Okay.
And we went back to that and found out that a Claypool was Betsy's third husband.
Oh, okay. So
She
Mr.
did
Ross was
remarry.
number one.
Mr. Ross was the first one, and that's
Okay.
how we remember her, as
Right.
Betsy Ross.
Okay.
Right. Her second husband, I do forget his name, sorry, but he was a soldier as well.
Okay.
And he was captured and was a British prisoner.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
I know.
Yeah.
And back then, the British prisoners were put on board ship. When the ship got too full, they were sent back to England. And England says, we don't want them here.
So they sent him to
They never even got off the boat and sent them back to the colonies.
Well, good. I'm glad they didn't make him walk the plank.
Thank you.
Yes. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Unfortunately, all that time on board ship and probably not so good a care, her second husband passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And his shipmate, his other prisoner George had, by the time the ship got back, had negotiated a prisoner exchange.
Okay.
And got the prisoners back.
See, if you delve into history, you can find out a lot more juicier tidbits than what were presented in textbooks. So I like that.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
History's much more interesting than my teacher said.
It is.
And it's
So I know you want to throw a challenge out to your friends in the Genealogical
Absolutely.
Society. And what
I
might that
do.
challenge be?
Well, the challenge is to dress up as your ancestor, come here to the library, get their story recorded, and the costume shop will provide your costume for free.
And we will get a video of you talking about your family history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so doesn't that sound like a nice challenge? That's
I
fun.
love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like
I'd
getting
like
into
to see more of this.
our
because
local
we have-
history and yes.
Our community is full of the offspring of wonderful ancestors.
Yes. That were granted land. Was that when it was during the
Absolutely.
American Revolutionary War? They couldn't pay
Absolutely.
them, so they granted them land, which is
Yes.
all around.
There weren't
Fayette.
many landowners. There was a lot of Irish still who were ex-slaves, and they still had some land, but they could get more.
Yeah.
Yes, or even sell the property
Yes.
and reestablish themselves. It was just it was a I want to say romantic time.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fascinating.
Absolutely.
I really like that.
Okay, but to finish the story
Oh.
about this person that was on board ship with Betsy's second husband came to Betsy to tell her how much he loved her and how much he talked about her, how much he cared for her, and they fell in love. And that was my Claypool ancestor.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a very romantic story.
It did end up well, and they went and had several children after that. So I am related to her through her offspring, and that will be big cousins to them.
Okay. Wow, you do have your roots deep into the American Revolutionary times.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's even a cousin connection to Mr. Ben Franklin.
Oh, so you got the
I
glasses.
got his glasses on, exactly.
He fixed them for you, right?
There you
Betsy?
go, just before I got here, right?
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah.
So,
Well, I just wanted to ask you a few quick questions about the costume shop, because you've been supplying not only Fayette County, but schools and surrounding counties with outfits for their plays, for their musicals, for their wax museum. How long have you been in business?
The shop has been open since 1992.
Wow. Has
And
it
I
greatly
did it
grown in that period of
2
time?
years before that, out of the front room of my house.
Oh my.
I know.
Can you have a wild guess of how many costumes you might have?
The last count was 10,000.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
They're packed in pretty tight.
Yes.
Way too tight for that space.
But still, they're fabulous costumes, and she has gifted us, the libraries, just over and over and over again with fabulous costumes. And in
Our
fact,
pet project.
and I appreciate being her pet project, but our theme this summer is Imagine Your Story. We have fairy themes, and you're just using your imagination themes all around the library. And Mickey just brought into us today some wonderful fairy wings and costumes for little girls and capes.
Fairy accessories they can wear over top of their own clothes.
You just put it on top,
Yes.
and then you can pose. We've got a
Right.
special space
Right.
on a bench that's very mystical and magical, and we can take your picture
Absolutely.
in these costumes, and then we clean them after every
Right.
use.
Don't worry, they will be disinfected after each use.
And that'll be a great photo album, something to put in your photo album, a beautiful picture. So there's
I can't
costumes.
wait to see those photos.
I can't wait to see
All the
those too.
smiles,
So
yes.
please come on into the library, and it'll be a great photo opportunity. So thank
Exactly.
you. Thank
There's
you
even
for
some
that.
things that'll fit some adults too, so
Oh,
mom can get in on
that
it
one
as well.
cape
Wasn't
is
that
magnificent.
fun? Yes.
And you made that one, didn't you?
For you, years ago.
You made that for me?
Yes.
So, you know,
Yes.
okay, it's
Uh-huh.
coming back. It's
Yeah,
coming back.
exactly.
She's made many costumes just for me.
I know.
I'm pretty fortunate.
And she wears them well. Let me tell you.
I
She
never,
really does.
I never miss an opportunity to dress up, and that's why we're kindred spirits.
We are.
We are kindred spirits because we both have the child inside of
We
our
both
hearts.
read and we have imagination.
We do. In surplus, we've got
Yes.
imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember talking to you a few weeks ago, and I was so surprised to find out that you have another thing, a bond between the two of us, is that you're a Trixie Belden fan.
Absolutely.
Which was my favorite book in the 4th grade.
Oh, I
fourth
know
and
how
fifth
many
grade.
nights I got in trouble for staying up late reading.
Me too.
Oh,
I
I
couldn't
know.
wait for the next book.
I know.
Yes. Unfortunately, they don't go. You know, it's Nancy Drew still, who's older than Trixie Belden.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Drew's still popular, but the popularity of Trixie Belden has waned over the years,
It has,
and
hasn't
that just saddens me tremendously because they don't know what they're missing.
They don't know how much trouble this girl got into all the time.
She was in trouble constantly,
She was.
but she solved wonderful mysteries and.
She did.
Yeah. So she was somebody I aspired to be when I was in 4th or 5th grade. Have you been reading a lot during this pandemic, and we've been staying at home quarantining? Some people find during this tumultuous time they can't read, and other people say they bury themselves in reading. Where do you fall
Well,
in the line?
as soon as the schools were let out, I became at-home grandma. So we homeschooled
Oh,
Yes. For
Eighth
second grade
and fifth grade.
and fifth grade.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Did they put you through your paces?
You better believe it. 2 different curriculums,
Yeah.
2 different school buildings,
Mm-hmm.
2 different teachers, and a mom that was intent that they were going to do their lessons.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you got.
And they did. We all got through it.
Yeah. So
So-
that didn't leave you with any reading time, did it?
No.
Just for your own fun.
No.
And you were too exhausted after a day of
when they got
homeschooling.
picked up, school was out, and I just collapsed.
What about now that the school's out? Are you finding that your reading is picking up?
Well, they're still there.
That's true, but at least you're not doing
Right.
homework
Well,
now.
you know, we finally got the pool cleaned and ready, and it's ready to go. Just a little backyard kiddie pool. But while they're in the pool, I will be able to read then.
Good.
And I have my books all set up, ready to go.
Now, what do you like to read? Now,
Now it's genealogy stuff.
still do.
But I kind of, my adulthood started on the historical romance novels.
Oh yeah, I
Very
like the
good.
historical one because there's a difference between historical and just plain romance.
You know, the Harlequins were fine, and all my friends are reading those, but I went right to the history.
Because you do learn about history. Because most of those writers do try to
They do the
adhere to
research.
the historical
They know,
facts.
yeah. They lace their stories into what really was going on around them, and all of them were based on some kind of historical events.
Is there an author that jumps out at you that you
Rosemary Rogers.
Oh yeah, yes. I've read-
Okay,
mhm.
yeah, and
Yes.
a passel of many others. A lot of romance novels, even set in Egypt.
Oh,
Got a couple of those.
okay.
It was published by Delta, but I can't tell you who the author is. of
I know,
those.
I'm terrible with remembering names.
I'm not a good
sometimes.
name person. That's why I didn't do well in history class, but I love the stories.
Because that's what history is. It's a collection
exactly.
of
And I found out
stories.
the real story is really way more bizarre than my teachers ever let on.
I know. I think they've done history a disservice by keeping it dry and dull. Because just like this is juicy stuff about Betsy Ross. I love that. I never knew that.
That has
So
to be
thank you for
true.
sharing
It
that.
has to be true. I could make this stuff up. You know?
Yes. Well, tell me, what are
Not
you
that
gonna,
imaginative.
what are you going to do to celebrate the 4th of July this weekend? Got anything special? Cookout?
I have no clue yet.
Yeah. The weather's supposed to be beautiful.
Well,
No rain.
it's Ohio.
I know. It can change on a dime.
I know.
So you don't think you'll cook out?
I'm
You
not
do-
sure. I might get
okay.
invited to one.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah,
to get
that's even
invited to
better.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do either. We're off this Friday, and so we've got like a long 3-day weekend at the library. But you'll have everybody. This show will be on this coming Friday, so July 3rd. We will have this broadcast, and I think you might find some interesting elements have been added to this show that you'll have to watch to find out. So, yeah. Well, Mickey, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us at the library.
This has been so much
This
fun.
has been, it's always
Yeah,
fun
I
when
know.
you come and visit. She
I
came
know.
today bearing gifts. I'm laden down with wonderful, magnificent presents that she came and
Well, this is a
gifted
rare
me with.
occasion. I normally don't do interviews, and I normally don't dress up. But I'll tell you, because I have stage fright. That's why I'm backstage with the costumes and not out front, because there's no way I can do what those kids can do, and they are all amazingly talented.
Well, I think you
And
did
I
pretty
think-
darn well. I think
Yes.
Betsy Ross would be proud of you for representing her so well today.
This is a story people need to learn.
They do need to learn
I
that.
know.
Great. Well,
She's
thank you so
as
much.
much a part of our history
Mm-hmm.
as George.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And please don't
Thank-
tear down her statue. I have to cut that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tune in next week and we'll
Take
see who we're
care.
going to talk to next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.